Hello, I'm Oliver Colling, and this is my 70s TV childhood. Welcome back to my 70s TV childhood. We are a podcast dedicated to celebrating what it was like to be a child growing up in 1970s Britain, and the special place that television played in our and our families' lives back then. They were, in many ways, simpler times. No mobile phones, no social media, and a place where computers existed largely only in TV shows, where they seemed to be made up of big cabinets with large whirring tape spools whizzing around and banks of flashing lights doing nothing in particular. Yes, this was a time of my and many of your childhoods, and pretty good it was too, in my opinion. And I think many of you seem to agree, as we're now well into the 6th season of my 70s TV childhood, and we have more listeners than ever. You are a wonderful audience, and very engaged one as well, as every episode we release leads to many of you getting in touch one way or another. To remind you, there are lots of ways to get in touch, whether to comment on what you've heard, or to share memories of your own TV childhood. You can leave a message on our blog at www.my70stvchildhood.com, or on one of our many social media sites on Facebook, Twitter/X, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Or alternatively, you can just email me, oliver@my70stvchildhood.com. And many of you did just that after our recent episode featuring everyone's favourite saggy old cloth cat, Bagpuss. Although when I say everyone's favourite, there is always one who goes against the trend. Our Facebook post on the episode received over 3,000 reactions and dozens of comments, all of which were very positive. Apart from one from Angela, who said she never watched Bagpuss. Angela, what a shame. I do feel very sorry for you. Other comments showed lots of love, particularly for the mice and the mouse organ, especially the way they used to fix things, and a surprising number of you said you thought Professor Yaffle was great. But what does come over from all of the responses is how many of you enjoyed being reminded of the show, and some very, very happy memories associated with it. Now, it is interesting looking back at your comments over the years that we've been producing the podcast, as there are many similar themes which come through. I think for me most heartwarming are how many of you tell us that the mention of certain programmes brings back specific memories of sitting watching telly as a family and sharing moments together. Another common theme is that many of you have very strong memories not just of TV shows, but also what, well on ITV at least, came in between. Yes, I'm talking about adverts. Now, we've featured adverts in a number of previous episodes of the podcast, but your appetite for them seems undiminished. So, we're going to look back at a few more gems from the 1970s ad creators and see if you remember them. Now, I have said before that based on the adverts, we as a nation seem to spend most of the 1970s eating, drinking and smoking, and then after which we have to use lots of different cleaning products to clear up the mess. And the other obsessions seem to be with personal appearance, and then going on holiday. Although, if you remember, the holiday ads started on Christmas Day and ran through January, so if you hadn't booked by then, forget it. So, to start looking back, are you feeling a bit peckish?
A finger of fudge is just enough to give your kids a treat. A finger of fudge is just enough until it's time to eat. It's full of peppery goodness, but very small and neat. A finger of fudge is just enough to give your kids a treat.
It's just enough to give your kids a treat, and just enough until it's time to eat. So that's a bit like the Mars bar, which helps you work, rest and play. Or Milky Way, which you can eat between meals and it won't spoil your appetite. Can you imagine if any chocolate producer made similar claims today? There would be a national, maybe even an international outcry. Although I don't remember there being half as many, well, how should I put it politely, overweight kids at school in the 1970s. Perhaps it might partly because the school dinners at our primary school were absolutely disgusting. For example, we always used to know when we were going to have liver for lunch because the smell of it drifted through the classroom from about 9 o'clock in the morning onwards. But anyway, a finger of fudge, even if it is just enough to give your kids a treat, Are you still hungry? How about something with a few nuts?
Hey, new marathon's arrived.
New marathon?
New marathon.
New marathon because now the peanuts are flavour roasted for extra peanut taste. Hey, smashing new peanut taste. New lighter centre.
Smooth.
Super chocolate, golden caramel. Peanuts. New marathon. Comes up peanuts, slice after slice.
New extra flavour. Marathon!
Interestingly, that last ad featured a very young, bright and cheery Keith Chegwin. But surely, even a marathon's not enough to fill us up. No, what we need, after a hard day at school, is a nice big chippy tea, as they used to call it where I was brought up. And what better evening meal could there be? But what do you do if you don't have a chip shop nearby? Well, luckily for us, whatever happened to the Likely Lads star Rodney Bewes has the answer.
There used to be a fish and chip shop down our road. Not anymore. They've redeveloped it into a multi-storey car park. But Birdseye have come up with these. Cod in batter, steaks, fingers, little chunks they call crispy cod fries, even fish and chips in the same packet. Nice. But they'd taste even better if they sold them in newspaper.
Thanks, Rodney. So, thanks to Birdseye, we can fill our freezers with loads of frozen fish and chip variants and just stick them in the chip pan whenever we need them. Which reminds me, how many of you listening had a chip pan at home? We did. The chip pan stood full of cooking oil, like Spry, crisp and dry. Always ready, always waiting for duty. Presumably it made sense to reuse the fat on a number of occasions because it must have been quite expensive. And I'm sure it must have only added to the flavour. So, our fish and chip supper is ready, but what are we going to have to drink with it? Well, there was only one choice in our house.
Get in the hang of it. Mind the banisters, son.
Oh, I can't hold it, Dad.
Don't worry, son. I shifted more pianos than you've had hot dinners.
Cream, Mr. Shifter. Like refreshment.
Oh, thank you most kindly, madam. One way of shifting it.
When a good cup of tea really counts, you're right to drink Brook Bond PG Tips. It's the tea you can really taste.
Dad, do you know the piano's on my foot?
You hum it, son. I'll play it.
I have to say, I loved the PG Tips adverts. Now, it was only later that I realised that it wasn't good for the chimps to be dressed up as humans and put into hilarious tea centre sketches. But as a child, I found them fascinating and very funny. I even had a set of posters from the adverts on my bedroom wall. I wonder what happened to them. They came from my Auntie Elsie, who was my father's aunt, so really my great-aunt, who used to avidly collect PG Tips tea cards for me and my sister and fill up the albums for us. Now, I know I've mentioned that previously on the podcast, but it is still a very happy memory, and I still have all of the albums she collected on our behalf. They were educational, produced to a really high standard, and were things that I read from cover to cover time and again as a child. Did you collect the tea cards? And if so, what was your favourite album? For me, as I have mentioned previously, it was The Race into Space, which really captured the excitement of the time about space travel, which was everywhere. But I'm digressing from the adverts. Now, going back to food and drink, I don't remember much wine being drunk in our house with meals until we got into the 1980s when it started to flow. But my parents were partial to a gin and tonic some evenings. I think it was the sort of same in pubs where not much in the way of food is available, unless you count peanuts and pork scratchings as dinner. So men used to drink beer, and then the ladies often went for something, well, a little more sophisticated. Like Campari.
It's very odd. I don't even know your name, but after this one Campari and soda, I feel I almost know you. May I freshen your glass? Soda, of course.
No, lemonade.
Campari and lemonade.
Yes, nice colour, isn't it?
Were you truly wafted here from paradise?
No, Luton Airport.
I couldn't resist including that one. Like so many good adverts, it has stood the test of time, and it propelled Lorraine Chase into stardom. And the ad even inspired a top 30 record sung by Cats UK after Lorraine had, probably wisely in my view, turned down the chance to sing it. So, after all that food and drink, we're all feeling a bit full, so a bit of restraint was required. And how do we address those pounds we put on from eating Rodney Bewes' frozen fish suppers?
When you're fighting the inch war, you don't have to go to a lot of extra expense. Ryvita is just as low on cost as it is on calories. And because Ryvita tastes so good, you can really enjoy it as part of your calorie-controlled diet. In the inch war, Ryvita helps you win.
There you go. If you want to lose weight and look like a glamorous model, then eat some crackers. That's all there is to it. Oof. Oh, just looking around after all that cooking and eating. Kitchen's a bit of a mess, so we need to tidy up. Right, what have we got here? Let's get the scouring powder out and give everything a good clean. What was that? What did you say?
Scouring powders can leave tiny scratches like skates on ice. But Jif scouring cream with ammonia lifts dirt without scratching, leaves surfaces shining clean. Jif cleans right through to the shine.
You don't want to be using that scouring powder like skates on ice on your stainless steel sink, you know. So, nice Jif cream helps us with the kitchen. But the floor and carpets are still a bit of a mess, especially with all the crumbs from those blooming Ryvitas all over the place. What we need is a decent vacuum cleaner. So, Katie Holland, do you have any suggestions?
Hello, I'm Katie Holland. I've been testing the Electrolux 502 cleaner. Look how the cleaning head adjusts itself for carpets and hard floors, and it cleans right up to the skirting board. They tell me it's these side suction channels that do it, and the hose plugs straight in for all-over cleaning. No messy dust bag emptying either. It lifts clean out. I've used other cleaners, but I've never found one with so many good things as the Electrolux 502. It really does clean better, faster.
Okay, I'm sold. Electrolux it is. But you know, even with such a lovely vacuum cleaner, there are still smells from the carpet and... is that the dog I can smell too?
Stale smells up here often come from down there in your carpet. Smells from your dog and tobacco too. Well, shake and vac from Glady's here. It's all you have to do. Do the shake and vac and put the freshness back. Do the shake and vac and put the freshness back. When your carpet smells fresh, your room does too. Every time you vacuum, remember what to do. Do the shake and vac and put the freshness back. Shake and vac in 3 fragrances.
That advert is priceless. I bet almost all of you listening knew the words to that. Great, so the house is clean and tidy, but what about us? What's that on your collar?
Barbara Stubbs didn't believe Head & Shoulders was better than ordinary dandruff shampoo, so regularly for 8 weeks we shampooed half her hair in a well-known dandruff shampoo, half in Head & Shoulders. A few days after the test ended...
It was horrifying. Just look at it. The dandruff is so obvious.
And the other side?
It's amazing. It's clear, it feels good, it looks good, and it is good.
For most people, regular shampooing with Head & Shoulders clears dandruff ordinary dandruff shampoos leave behind.
Thank goodness for Head & Shoulders. Now I'm completely flake-free. But with such beautiful clean hair, how can we be sure that our beautifully styled locks don't fall out of place? Well, Hairspray is the obvious candidate. But I really don't want anyone knowing I'm wearing it. What a conundrum.
Is she or isn't she? Yes, she is wearing a hairspray. But it's Harmony Hairspray in a brand new formula. So fine and gentle, you're the only one that knows for sure. New Harmony Hairspray.
It's probably more applicable to the ladies, that one. Although I do remember and have to confess, I used a product called Kestrel men's hairspray in the 1980s, when for a little while I sported a fantastic wedge hairstyle in the style of New Romantics, if you remember those. But that is another story, probably for another podcast. In the 1970s, a red-blooded man was more interested in how he smelt. And boy, do we have a big choice of aftershaves to choose from. I'll ignore the obvious choice of Brute 33 with Henry Cooper or Barry Sheen and go for something, I think, a little more sophisticated. And what could be more sophisticated than a scent personally endorsed by none other than French singing legend Sacha Distel.
Hello, I am Sacha Distel. They asked me to try Mandate, and now I wear it all the time because it's sophisticated, long-lasting, and very sexy. This is not fiction. This time it's for real. Mandate sings my songs. Not just a fun thing, like some kiss and run thing. Forever was part of a deal. Mandate speaks my language. Mandate says what I want to say. And when I'm relaxing, need I say more? It's all right, said my wife.
Mandate says a lot for a man.
Well, Sacha, you make that sound very alluring, what with your French accent and all. So I think I might try Mandate. But on second thoughts, I might stick with the Old Spice. Or perhaps something which makes me irresistible to women, but actually might threaten my safety.
High Karate aftershave. Use too much and you're asking for trouble, because just one whiff drives women wild. Makes men irresistible. Fortunately, every pack of High Karate contains essential instructions on self-defense. High Karate aftershave. Be careful how you use it.
How did they get away with those adverts, even in the mid-70s? Apparently you can still get High Karate aftershave. I think I might try some and see what effect it really has. Although I'm not entirely sure I have the time to learn some new martial arts techniques to go with it. Right, so I'm now looking well-groomed and smelling, irresistible. Might be a good time to go on holiday. Where might I go? Well, Fred Pontin always has lots of ideas.
Now's the time to get your Pontins holiday brochure, full of new ideas at guaranteed prices. Like Pontins Self Catering. A family of 4 can spend a week off peak from only £42 plus VAT. No more than £93 plus VAT in peak season. Or follow the sun. Go Pontinental. You'll be amazed. Tell them, Sir Fred.
Go Pontin, and I'll promise you the best holidays value money can buy.
Phone now or send a press coupon for the Pontins holiday brochure.
And remember, book early.
Thanks, Fred. I'll remember to book early. Although if you wanted to book well in advance, British Airways had some bargains for you in 1977.
This is one of the biggest pieces of travel news in a long time. British Airways are introducing massive savings on scheduled service fares to Europe. Like Athens, normal fare £292, now from as low as £85 when you book a month in advance. Same with Naples, normal fare £226, now from £83. And Valencia, normally £151, now from £56 each for a group of 3 or more. Full details from your travel agent now.
I am amazed by that advert. Air travel was so expensive. When you look at the sorts of cheap airfares you can get now, no wonder our family never went anywhere outside of the UK. It was too expensive. And you might also have Leonard Roster sitting next to you on the plane pouring his drink over your lap. But some of those prices quoted, I mean, you just about get a deposit to buy a house in 1977 for some of that money. Anyway, that brings us to an end to our quick run through another selection of 70s adverts. And I hope you recognise some of them. Do you know, I remember some of the adverts better than some of the TV shows at the time, which suggests that it was a bit of a golden age for British adverts. But if you'll indulge me for one moment, I want to take you back to my favourite 70s advert, which we have mentioned on a previous podcast. And it involves the human race being observed from a faraway planet.
On your last trip, did you discover what the Earth people eat? They eat a great many of these. They peel them with their metal knives. Boil them for 20 of their minutes. Then they smash them all to bits. They are clearly a most primitive people.
For mash, get smash.
I never tire of that one. I hope you enjoyed that too. What was your favourite advert of the 1970s? Do let us know by getting in touch via one of the many ways we mentioned earlier, which are also mentioned in our episode show notes which accompany the podcast. We'd love to hear from you. We will be back next week with our next 70s themed trivia quiz, and then again in a fortnight with our next regular podcast. If you've enjoyed listening, then why not tell your friends? I'm sure they'd like it too. So take care, keep cheerful in what is an increasingly uncertain world, and join us again soon for more from my 70s TV childhood.